Yeah. So when it comes to the behaviors, we often look at whether it is a positive behavior or whether it's a negative behavior. If it is a positive behavior, of course, the scoring would be more on the higher side. If it is a negative behavior, the scoring will be on the negative side, right? So we cannot set a target. Um, Also, another fact about the behaviors is that it becomes very difficult for an individual to measure it. For example, let's say, okay, let's say for example, Marianne, you gave the organization feedback, right? And this feedback has helped in the employee experience, sorry, in the customer experience, right? So this particular feedback of yours, it helped in, let's say, the overall experience. It reduced, let's say, timelines, or it cut timelines by 20% for the service that the employee received. Yeah. There is, let's say, for example, there is another employee. Okay, let's assume the other employee is Carla. So Carla has given a feedback which has helped in let's say in generating more revenue, right? So one, you have given the feedback which has helped in cutting short the, let's say, the timelines or making the experience better. Carla has given a feedback which has helped in increase in revenue by 10%, right? Now, can I say who has done better than the other?
No.
Right? It becomes difficult, right? It becomes difficult for us to judge. We find that, probably Marianne's idea has helped the organization more as compared to Carla's idea, or Carla's idea has helped the organization more as compared to Marianne's idea, right? It becomes difficult. Hence, so we go by if there has been positive actions or there has been positive initiatives taken, then in that case, the scoring is more positive. If there is negative actions taken, let's say, for example, when it comes to teamwork, okay, let's say for that, for example, Khalil had an argument with one of his co-workers, right, and that led to a very heated argument. Both of them were disturbed. It deviated the entire flow of the people, in the team. So now this has negatively impacted the team. So of course it's going to be a negative scoring. Let's say on the other end we have, let's say, if I have, well, it's Ayman on the other end. I've got Ayman who had a conflict with his manager, right? He had a major conflict. There was an argument between him and the manager, and again that as well upsetted the whole flow. Now either of them are negative. I cannot say, we cannot measure that Khalil's stiff with his co-worker was more impacting as compared to Ayman's stiff with his manager. Either of them are negative to the team. So in that case, because we cannot measure what exactly, we cannot quantify the impact of it, whether it's a negative, we will give a negative scoring. Wherever it is a positive, we can give a positive score. Now, there can also be possibilities wherein there is no scope, so there was nothing positive and there was nothing negative as well. So in this case, we give a mid rating. Now, while we're talking about high rating, low rating, mid rating, now let's get into the rating of how we are going to evaluate this whole thing. Okay, rating scales vary from, again, position to position, company to company, department to department. We may have a rating scale, or so 1 second, let me just put this first notes down. Okay, so let's say, for example, over here, companies may rate on a scale of, let's say, 1, 2, and 3. 1 being the least, and 3 being the highest. Another organization may take it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, 1 being the least and 5 being the highest. Some companies' rating scorings are, their rating scales are like, average, good, excellent, poor, okay, and this one says, yeah, unsatisfactory, or yeah, unsatisfactory sounds more like needs improvement, exactly. So say unsatisfactory. So this is again another kind of scale. Or you may just have it as good, average, or poor, right? Or sometimes they may even set different kind of, let's say, gradings. For example, A, B, C. And A can be the least, C can be the highest, or D, E, whatever. So there are different scales that organizations will choose for this evaluation, and based upon the skills, they will rate the profession. Okay. Most common or most effective, we look at a 1 to 5 rating, 1 being the least, 5 being the highest, right? So in a case wherein an employee had no scope, like he's talking about the behaviors over here, so there will be a mid rating, let's say 3. So the person has not positively influenced the team, neither have they negatively influenced the team. They've not given any positive solution, neither what they've done is negative. So they still get a mid rating, right? All of you clear, guys, so far with me?
Yes, doctor.
No? Yeah. Any questions, any doubts, do let me know.
Thank you, doc.
No worries. Okay. So this, we have gone to the next, let's say the next particular set of discussion wherein we've set the parameters, the weightage, we've discussed the rating scale, we've even given the targets. Now everything is purely performance based. So at the end of the month, depending on how much the employee achieved in sales, what is the feedback, how much is the conversion, how much is the leads, the scoring is given. Like when it comes to teamwork, was it positive, was the negative, accordingly the scoring is given. Now I'm going to take you through one more additional step, and this step makes the entire evaluation a very transparent evaluation. Okay, what is this additional step? Is we call this the grid system, wherein we will create a grid for each and every parameter, and based on these grids that are created, we will able to further evaluate this employee's overall performance. Yeah. Let me close again. Right. So when I'm saying the grid system, what we do is we create grids for each of these parameters. Now let's take for example here, okay, Marianne, you can answer this one for me. We are saying the rating scale is from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Let's say employee has a target of 50 sales to be achieved in the month.
Okay.
The employee achieved 50 sales. So out of 1 to 5, what rating will you give?
5.
5. Perfect. Okay. So you give a 5 rating. Why? Because the person has achieved the target that has been defined. I'm going to ask one more. Yes, somebody was saying something. Praveen. Yes. Praveen, if you have to rate this person or this professional, the rating scales from 1 to 5, what would be your rating?
Okay.
I didn't hear you. Sorry, Praveen. One more time, please.
Nothing, sir. I'm listening.
Oh, you're not saying anything. Okay. I'm giving you a situation. So let's assume over here, Praveen, that the employee has a target of 50 sales to achieve, and the employee achieved 50 sales. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how much will you give? Any idea? Okay, let me move to Carla. No worries, talking, it's fine. Carla, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So Carla, if the employee achieved 50 sales, what's going to be your scoring?
5.
5, right? Now, most of us will agree it's going to be 5. Anyone of you who says it shouldn't be 5? Any one of you?
Well, I can give him 4.
Okay, why? Good. Good thought. Tell me why.
Because I mean his target is 50,
Mhm.
but there's room for improvement. So
Okay.
I'm giving him 4.
Okay.
So that I mean he could achieve more, but why he stopped at 50?
Okay, very good. So it's. Do you hear what did she say? So Marianne said that she will change the rating from a 5 to a 4 because there is or there could have been scope of going beyond 50.
Yes.
But the person only achieved 50, right? So hence it's a 4. It's a very valid thought. In fact, in my opinion, it should not be a 5 or a 4, it should be a 3. Okay? Again, why am I saying it? I'm not saying that you guys are wrong. You know, it is right. When you rate a 4, it is still valid, but definitely it shouldn't be a 5. But when you're saying it's a 4, it's still valid. Why? Because let's say, for example, I have one employee A, who achieved 50 sales for that month. I've got employee B who achieved 70 sales for that month, for example. Okay, so am I going to give employee A as well a scoring of 5 and employee B as well a scoring of 5? There is a huge variance between both of their performances, right? So as an employer or as a department head, as an organization, you want to leverage this. You want to drive them to achieve the highest, right? You want to make it very competitive, right? So what happens over here is when you create a grading system, which we are doing right now, you are giving opportunity for someone to go beyond the target. The target is like, you know, you're supposed to meet it. You are expected to meet this particular target. Hence, I'm saying that we will go for a 3. Suppose someone goes beyond that particular target figure, which means they exceeded their target, which will be a 4. And there can be a possibility that someone, you know, has performed exceptionally well. So for them as well, I need to probably, you know, consider that as well. So hence we create different kind of rating scales, but when we are setting these grids, we need to make it on a range. We need to set a range to make it more transparent and make it more understandable. Now, what do I mean by a range? For example, over here, we've taken 50 to be the target. So, for example, an employee is 45 to 50 sales. They get a 3.
Okay.
Suppose anyone is above 50, let's say 51 to 74 gets a 4. And suppose someone is beyond 75 and above, they get a 5.
Okay.
Likewise, lower. Suppose someone is 30 to 44, they get a 2. If anyone is less than 29, they get a 1.
Okay. I do have a question.
Yeah.
For example, on the employee side, for example, I mean the company set the target at 50, and as an employee I achieved that. So why am I getting a 3 only if I achieved what the company set the target?
Yes, this is your target. So you have achieved your target. You have not superseded it, right? The objective is for you to do to your best. Because based on this performance that we are seeing over here, we will have, like we looked at, you know, there are outcomes based. For example, there are opportunities of promotion. There are opportunities for bonuses. There are opportunities for incentives. There is also opportunities, let's say, if negative performance, there is action plans. We can be ready for termination as well, right? So there are a lot of things which is linked to this performance management system. So if you are going to be mid, which is you're going to work as per what is expected for you, all right, that's still fine. But if you go far beyond what is expected, there is opportunities of positive encouragement, appreciation monetarily as well as non-monetarily, right? So it can help the employee or motivate the employee to go beyond it, right? Okay. With me, guys, all of you? Yes, no, maybe, yeah. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of you online. So I'm assuming all of you are clear with what we did until now. If anyone has a doubt, you ask me. Like I said, that if we don't connect on this particular part over here, when we proceed or progress further, it's going to add to the confusion. Are we all clear? Sagar, Carla, Khalid, Praveen, Abdullah, Fadil, Ayman,
Yes.
and Yes.
Yes, clear.
doctor.
Okay, all right, great.
Yes,
So with perfect. So with all of your acknowledgement, this is how we will replicate it for each and every parameter of the KPI. Yeah, we cannot do this for the competency or for the behavior because, like I said, we cannot set targets for them. Everything is based on whether it is a positive behavior, will end up in a positive scoring. If it is a negative behavior, it will end up into a negative scoring. Okay. Okay. So basically, again, these grids too that we are looking at over here, the ranges between them is based on figures. It's based on statistics. It's based on references to previous data or historic data for them to come up with the right mix of it. What you're seeing here is just an overview or you're getting an approximate idea of how this thing is built. So for building this, again, you will look at what is the target. So based on the targets, you will set these grids. So like you see over here, 40 to 50, like I said, is a 3. 51 to 74 is a 4. 75 and above is a 5. Lower, let's say 25 to 39 is a 2, and let's say less than 24, 1 to 24 is a 1. So this, we've made it for the sales. Likewise, you make it for feedback. The feedback, let's say 70 to 75 gets a 3. 76 to, let's say, 89 gets a 4. And 90 to 100 gets a 5. Twice lower. 50 to 69 gets a 2. And less than 49, 1 to 49 gets a 1. Accordingly, we move to the next one, conversion. So again, we take, let's say, 40 to 50% gets a 3. 51 to, let's say, 75 gets a 4. 76 to 100 gets a 5. 20 to 39 gets a 2, and less than 19 gets a 1. Okay. Leads, likewise, let's say 25 to gets a 3. 31 to, let's say, 49 gets a 4. 50 and above gets a 5. Lower than this, 10 to 19 gets a 2, and less 1 to 9 gets a 1. Right? Now, the beauty of setting these grids, like I said, it makes the entire evaluation very, very transparent. So now, for example, if we are looking at the end of the performance cycle, like we said, at the end of the period, if the employee, let's say, employee achieved, had a target of 50, achieved, let's say, 64, for example. Feedback percentage had to be 75%. 25 is 172. Conversion ratio had to be 50%. Let's say the employee's conversion is, let's say, 42, for example. Leads had to be 30, leads were 20. Or let's say, yeah, let's say 20. So based on what the employee has achieved, now we can give the rating. So 64 is number 4. 72 in feedback is number 3. Conversion 42 is a number 3. Okay, leads 20 is, oops, this would be 10 to 24. Okay, so 20 comes with a number 2. Right. So now we know that the employee's rating scale, let's say for sales, is 4, 3, 3, 2. Assuming that the employee scores a 3 on teamwork and 3 on innovation. So let's say you add the other 6. We've got 4, 3, 7, 3, 9, 11, 6, 17. 17 out of how many parameters we have? 6. Each parameter maximum is 5. So 5, 6, 7. Are you guys with me?
Hello. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, doctor. Hello, Mr. Dylan. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry for being late. I already won.
No.
Just, I need to have an idea. This, the KPI 80% and the behavior 20%. So, is it rate? This is rate for the evaluation. Exact. Just can you, if you never mind, this you mentioned here. Is it because the written is not right? There is 40%, 20% feedback, communication. Can you just give an idea for this as general? Because a little bit I was late.
No worries, no worries. I will. Okay,
Just, because I have seen the numbers, I did not get that. That's why. Sorry.
Right, no
If you
worries.
don't mind, just quick update. Exact for this 80% and 20%. That 80 for KPI and 20 for the behavior. Just I need to know an idea.
Yeah, let me quickly, give you an update on this one. So we said that the profession that we are evaluating here is for a salesperson who is a part of the operations team. So we said the other day on Monday, if it's operations, the focus on the parameters like skills, results, outputs, all of these are going to be higher as compared to the behaviors. Why? Because it is that which is generating revenue to the business. So the focus on the KPI parameters will be higher than the behavior parameter because it's an operational designation. Now, what we did is this 80, so we took it, for example, an evaluation of 80-20 ratio, wherein it's going to be focused 80% on the KPIs and 20% on behaviors. Now, this 80%, we can equally distribute it in these 4 parameters, assuming each parameter has an equal weightage of 20 each, making the total sum as 80.
80, right.
Or we can go to a system, or we can go to a methodology wherein, based on the importance of that parameter, I can give a high rating, and to the ones which is not of very importance, I give them a lower rating. So we went through a weighted scoring, wherein sales being the most important for the salesperson gets a high weightage. Leads, which is also a part of the job but not so important as compared to sales, gets a low rating. With me?
Yeah, great. So so our KRA is not included in this evaluation. Will not be only just
your KRAs are your KPIs. You either call them your KRAs or you call them your KRAs. They are both the same. It's two different terminologies used with the same context to evaluate what is the end performance, the output which is measurable, the result which is measurable.
So it is name. So I can say I mean KRA, or also I can say also for that behavior is same. It doesn't matter, right? Only the name.
No, to the behavior, no. Behavior is different. I'm saying for this part, you can either call them the KRAs or you can call them KPIs. You cannot call them behaviors because behaviors has to be something which is intangible.
Right.
Right? Behaviors is purely which is difficult to measure, difficult to quantify. In some cases it can be, but again, it should be more on the behavioral front. I cannot say total sales and I cannot say that is the behavior of a person. It's more of a skill. So whatever is skill based, you will put it more under your KPIs or your KRAs. Whatever is your behavioral based will go under a separate parameter.
Great.
Right? Perfect.
Right.
Right.
Thank
Now, no worries. Now, if we want, okay, technically, we can end the evaluation over here, wherein we have the total rating of this particular professional, which is 17 upon 30. If we want, we can further, convert it into percentage. If we want, we can further put it into grading system, depending on, let's say, what the other employee got, what did the other get. We can have grading systems, so on and so forth, or we can take the law of averages. We can do different kind of further analysis to this basic data for all the employees, and we can create different kind of scoring schemes and ratios. Now, I say, okay, I tell you, just to challenge you guys a little bit, in my opinion, this scoring cannot end over here. Okay, can anyone tell me why? Why we cannot end the scoring based on the total rating or the total score? Why we cannot end it over here? There is a hint that I gave you all right in the beginning. There was a hint when the question was asked. I haven't clarified that question. Let me see if any one of you can spot it. Why do you think that we cannot stop with this kind of an assessment, or we cannot stop with just looking at the total sum of the rating?
I mean, the behavior is totally subjective.
Yeah.
It can go higher.
Right. No, it can go higher, no doubt. We're just taking an assumption that it's 3, it can be 4 or 5. That's right. But I'm saying when it comes to the total, let's say, the method of concluding the scoring, I cannot use a total sum scoring over here. Why? Think. Yes, somebody was saying something. Yes, who was that? I missed. Pardon? What's you?
If correct me if I'm mistaken.
Sure.
Always for this is we are getting as an example for the sales exact, right?
Right.
So like. Because they are always working on the target. They not consider the.
Think a little bit more deeper. The
Is right.
clue, the clue is in the scoring, and why we cannot go by the scoring is what I'm saying. So if you look at this, look at the scoring. Okay. In the interest of time, let's take an example. Okay. Hence, I'm doing it in the color-coded format, so we can understand this. Okay. Let's say this was employee A. Okay. Let's take employee B, for example. Assuming employee B, their performance is, let's say, 27 sales, okay, for that particular month. The feedback of the feedback of this particular student, or let's say for the not student, sorry, the employee, let's assume it is 52. Okay. Let's assume that their conversion ratio, okay, again, this is a little hypothetical, but just for calculation and evaluation basis, let's say is 60, and let's say the leads that this person has generated for the month is 42. Okay, let's assume this is the rating of, this is what employee B has achieved, and assuming that, let's say in teamwork, again, they get 3 and 3. Mid. So let's take over here 27. 27 is what? 2. 52. 52 is 2. Okay. 60 is 4. And 42, I said? 42, 4. Okay. 4, 8, 10, 12. Right?
Yes.
Right? So employee B, if you look at their scoring, it is 2 plus 2 plus 4 plus 4. So 4 plus 6, right? So 4, 8, 10, 12, 12 and 6, 18 out of 30, right? And employee A has scored 17 out of 30. Whose performance do you think is better? Just by looking at it.
By looking at the score, I mean the total score, it will be the B.
Okay.
Because he has higher total than.
Correct. You're looking at the score, we are saying employee B has higher. Let's assume employee A and employee B, for example, both had 17 for that matter. Now tell me, whose performance is better?
Employee A.
Why?
Because the higher percentage of, I mean, the most important in the KPI is the sales generating, which has 40%, and A has the highest total sales in his performance. So I would assume that A is better than B.
Right. So even if you're looking at, let's say normally, let's leave aside this, calculation. If I'm just looking at it normally as well, employee A, their sales for the month, it's a salesperson, it's 64, as the other person as compared to employee B is only 27.
Yes.
The feedback, which is again a big parameter, is 72, and this over here is only 52.
Yes.
Right? So if you're looking at even the targets that has been set, anyways, employee B is not performing anywhere close to the targets in the key parameters. Right? But at the end, when we are doing the entire calculation, we are still seeing that employee A and employee B, their total scoring is being more or less the same. But when we are looking at the performance, it is employee A who's performed far more better than employee B.
Yes.
Now, the reason why we cannot go just by the total sum is because, if you remember in the beginning, I told you we have weighted scoring here. If we would have had an equal ratio, so if we would have gone with, let's say, 20, 20, 20 for each parameter, then we could have stopped over there because each parameter has an equal rating. But we've not done an equal rating over here, but we've gone with high and low depending upon the parameter. So we cannot stop over here, but we have to go further. So further, what you will do is basically, I'm just going to put this back. This is 40, 20, 15, and 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So to generate the end scoring, you will take the total rating each of each parameter. For example, employee, okay, I'm just putting the rating over here. So it's 40, 20, 15, 5, 10, and 10, correct?
Yes.
This is the total weightage. Here we have employee A, here we have employee B. So employee A has scored in this 4, making it 160, has scored 3, making it 60, has scored 3, making it 45, has scored 2, making it 10, has scored 3, making it 30, has scored 3, making it 20. Yes, this is the total scoring. So 160 plus 60 makes it 320. 220? Yeah, sorry, 220, 220, 265, 275, 305, 335. We have approximately 335. That is for employee A. For employee B, let's do the scoring. So employee B has scored in the first parameter 2, so 40 into 2 equals to 80. Second parameter 2 again, 20 into 2 is equal to 40. Third parameter, it is 4. 15 into 4 is equal to 60. Fourth parameter, it is 4. 5 4s are 20. This is 30, 30. So 40, 120, 180, 200, 230, 260. So employee B has scored 260. Now do we see the difference between both the scoring? So employee A, their score is far more higher than what employee B has scored. But when we went by just the total sum, we seen that A was lower than B, which was more higher. Yeah, so mainly wherever there is your weighted scoring, you cannot go by this, but you will go one step further by multiplying it into your weightage. So it is weightage multiplied by the rating will give you the end score. Did you guys follow this? Are you guys with me?
Yeah, with you, Allah, but it's
Yeah, it is. If you look at it, if you look at it now, definitely complex, right? Because we manually did it. But if you go by the step by step, how we went with the flow, okay, you will able to connect everything. Take a couple of minutes, take a minute or two, and try to look through this. Again, what you're seeing over here, guys, is manual. We are manually calculating it. In an ideal in an organization, all of this is fed in the back-end system. All you're seeing is just scoring 4, 3, blah, blah, blah. But you don't know how is the end score generated. What I'm taking you through over here is telling you the intelligence behind how does your system calculate your scoring at the end, and we will also see how it breaks it into grades. So for now, just take a minute and just go through what we've just done for you to understand this, for you to relate to it. Again, it's color coded, so you'll be able to look through this. First, look at what we have in black. So we set the parameters, the weightages. Once we set the weightage, then we go to the blue. Blue, we set the target for each parameter. And after setting the target for each parameter, based on the target, we created the grids for each parameter. Right? Then go to the pink, wherein based on the employee's performance, based on what they achieved, we further connected that with the grids and we shared ratings for each. So we shared ratings for each of them. And last, which is in the red, black, and blue, is based on the ratings, we calculated the end score of each employee. Okay, now, can somebody tell me, okay, can somebody calculate and tell me, this 335 and this 260 is out of how much? I repeat, the 335 for employee A and the 260 for employee B is out of how much?
This that is all the war. That's why you have to have calculation. So you do that. That's what we say. We're not sure. Obviously, some images, physical images.
Yeah, the total 335 is out of how much, and the 260 is out of how much? 595?
500.
500 is the correct answer. Look through your calculation again. How did you get 595?
So we have to use which one of the following analyses somebody says for D.
Okay. Marianne, tell the group, how did you reach your 500?
Well, the highest score is 5, so I multiplied 5, the highest score, to each percentage or to each weighted average, weighted score. So 5 times 40, 5 times 20, 5 times 15, 5 times 5, 5 times 10, and 5 times 10. So I get all the total, and the answer is 500.
Perfect, that's the right answer. Now, a quicker way to do it, if you recall, the total weightage for both the KPI and behavior is 100. Yeah. What's the highest rating scale? So we are rating this employees on the highest rating scale of 5. 5 into 100 makes it 500.
Yes.
Right? So that's a quicker way of you recognizing it. Again, for some who did not get it, for each parameter, the highest weightage is 5. Right? For the KPIs, likewise for the competencies as well, right? So we take the 5, multiply that with the total weightage. Makes it 500. So when we are looking at your end scoring, employee A is 335 out of 500. Employee B is 260 out of 500. If you want to further break it into percentages, you can. If you want to further break it to whatever, kind of further mathematical corrections or analysis, you can.
numbers. And we don't have numbers we use.
Are all of us clear, guys? All of us, because this is how you will calculate or how you will build a performance management end to end. Starting from step number 1, which is assessing the parameters, assessing the job description. From the job description, you will create the KPIs. Based on the company goals, you will set the competencies or the behaviors. Then, once you have defined this, based on, again, department goals, objectives, you will set the weightages further, you will set the targets, and everything is based on the employee's performance, which you will further conclude or calculate it at the end of it. Any one of you who is still confused or is not clear, I don't mind taking you through this one more time. But we need to understand, again, don't go by the calculations again. Like I said, calculations are automated. It's fed into the system, even if you don't have an ERP system in the company, and if you just have Excel as well, these are back-end formulas that is filled in, and it will generate the end score. But it's important for you to understand how it is generated.
Well, Mr. Dalin, actually, for me, it is somehow is confused. So if it will be better if you give also models. Also, we can go deeply also. So because somehow numbers and this, it is really confused. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, I can identify that. Don't look at the numbers. The numbers is the calculation bit of it. That is okay. That you don't need to technically manually calculate it. All I'm saying is understand the logic, understand how it is done, the step by it, because the steps, if you understand that, you'll able to build any performance, any balance scorecard.
Because the thing is, we used to do it as also we have the same. You can say it's not this. An idea is same for the matrix. So, but we're doing as numbers 2, 3, 4, unless to be 100. So we have some SOBs exact. So we will go through that one, which is fixed for to all the divisions and departments also. So, but will be as because here now is somehow is different. 500 sometimes you calculating from. To 30. So is it can be better? For example, we can take it from 1 to 100% like that one. Because I'm confused actually, because sometimes counting for 500, sometimes from 30. So we are going for fixed from 1. For example, we will take it from 100 as usual. We are doing for that one. For example, if below 50 will be an this means So we will go like that from 1 to 100. Yes.
Perfect. I completely get what you're saying, Father. You know what you are saying is in your kind of an assessment, you are having a standard equal weighted for every parameter. I'll give you an example of what you are saying. Okay. For example, I have a particular, let's say, I'll give you the same reference. Okay. Let's say I have my sales employee. Okay. The sales employee is weighted on, let's say, 6 parameters. It's parameter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 6 parameters. Your rating scale is for each of these parameters is anything between 1 to 5, for example. Yeah. So you're seeing, let's say, parameter A, the employee scored a 3. Parameter B, the employee scored a 2. Parameter C, 3, the employee scored a 3. Right? Or let's say 4. Parameter 4, which is D, the employee scored, let's say, a 5. Parameter 6, this is what you will do. Okay, and then based on this entire end scoring that you get, right, you are deriving you're further deriving, okay, let's say, assuming that this total score, let's say, is 20, yeah, out of, let's say, 30 or 60 or whatever, because I'm saying 30 over here is because 5 being the highest rating, and there are 6 parameters, right?
Okay.
So you're going by this, and then based on this, you are converting it into, let's say, a percentage or into a score, okay, into an end score. What we did over here is the same thing, but in your case, there is equal weightage. Let's say, let me do one thing. Let me remove the 6, and let's put it at 5 on that, okay? So 20 out of 25, for example. 5 to 9 to 11 to 14, let's say 6. 16, for example, okay? Now what you have done is each of these parameters, how are you getting your 100 is from here. When each parameter has the same weightage. That is where you're getting your 100 from. What we did in our case over here, like we said, there are 2 ways of doing it. One is the equal, the other one is wherein you give a weighted scoring based on how important that parameter is to the profession. Okay, so in our case, let's say one parameter we gave 40, other parameter we gave, let's say, 20, third parameter we gave 10, 70, fourth parameter we gave 15, 50. We gave a weighted scoring, but eventually this is also 100 only. Are you with me, Mr. Pal?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So it's the same. The only difference is with the weighted scoring. What you are saying, that's one way on how we can do it, where every parameter is equal. The other way is wherein there is a weightage based on high and low, depending on how important those parameters are. That's the only difference. At the end of it, in either of it, you will come with a score, like you're saying, it is an end score, whatever it may be. To conclude, how do we conclude it? Let's say in our example, we have the total scoring of 500, right? We said it was out of 500. So based on this 500, the last or the end grid is made. For example, anyone who scored, let's say 200 to 250 gets an end rating score of 3. Anyone who scored above that, let's say 251 to 300 gets a rating score of 4. Let's say 301, I'm just giving for example.
Yes, I get it.
Let's say 500 gets a 5. Lower, let's say from 100 to 199 gets a 2.
You get 2.
Let's say 1 to 99 gets a 1. So we said the other day that we have incentives, promotions, so on and so forth as outcomes. Let's assume this employee has an incentive amount of 10,000 rupees, okay, for performance. So if an employee achieves, let's say 4, gets 100% of the incentive, but anyone who does above this gets 120% of the incentive. Yeah. Anyone who is over here, okay, they meet expectations, but they don't qualify for an incentive. So here, this employee who scored, let's say, a scoring of, let's say, 251 to 300 gets 100% of the incentive amount, which is equals to 10,000. But an employee who did very well gets 120%, which is 12,000. Likewise, somebody who performed really low this particular person who's in this particular slot, they can be, in your action plans or review for termination. These will be on your development plans.
As standards, right?
Sorry?
Yes, right. Agreed for that one. As standards are the numbers for this, it will be right. Termination maybe will be for any action. Agreed. Right.
Right. And also when we talk about companies who have, let's say, an internal system of promotions or so on, people who are in this fight, they get an opportunity to also participate in the ITPs. When we are talking about at the end of the year bonuses, it's the people who are in the top slot who are eligible, let's say, for bonuses. People who are in the lower, there are other kind of negative outcomes that we spoke about, is more influenced. So everything is within the grid system, everything is within this particular, let's say, methodology itself, within this matrix itself. It's just that different approaches can be taken depending on different departments and skill sets. What is it that I want to drive when it comes to my department? What is it I want to drive in my, let's say, from the employees in this particular skill set? I will create it the way I want it. So if it has to be equal, it can be equal. Like, for example, there are certain kind of skill sets wherein each and every parameter has an equal weightage. There are certain parameters wherein you want to drive, especially when it comes to operations from these revenue generation teams. If you want to make it competitive for the employees to, supersede their targets, their performance, there has to be something lucrative and something competitive for them. That is when the drive will be there. So if we have to, again, look at this entire thing that we've seen, it is very, very, let's say, if I have to conclude, or if I have to summarize it, first thing in terms of steps, the first thing is, hence we said right in the first day, the most important part is to have clear goals and objectives. Now just try connecting to the pillars. We said there has to be clear goals. What do we mean by clear goals? We said SMART goals, something which is specific, something which is measurable, something which is achievable or attainable, realistic, and it has to be time bound, right? This is what we mean by that. When we say that, we find there has to be a proper organization structure. So based on the structure, based on the job description, we are creating these parameters. But I'm saying in effective management systems, in this grid system, it makes every evaluation purely realistic, because it is not opinionated. Only there is scope of opinions to come for the behaviors. Wherein over here, the manager, depending upon their opinions, they are basing a scoring, right? But apart from that, 80% of the entire performance is purely based on facts, right? When we are talking about the awareness, if this is communicated at the right time, it makes the employee to focus on these key parameters, right? And lastly, we spoke about the support system, which will be provided during the entire cycle. It cannot be just only at one time. So the support is provided in terms of, let's say, coaching, guidance, whatever training is required. It's throughout the entire cycle. And the outcomes are based by what has been achieved. So an employee who has achieved good scoring, who is consistent at the end, if we are looking at this as a monthly, there are some who have a quarterly, some who have a half yearly, and eventually it's calculated on an annual basis. So annually, someone who is consistent, who is being very good to the organization, yeah, they get the positive outcomes out. Yeah. So if we are looking to, if the whole calculation part is, a little bit of the worry, like I'm saying, don't bother about that, because that's purely system based. It's going to be automated. All you need to understand is how is the scoring. The scoring, if it is a weighted based scoring, it will be weightage multiplied by the rating. Okay, if it is equal weightage, you can go with the N, which is the total sum. You just go with the total of it. The total of the rating, well, you can conclude your entire ratings or the last grid that we've seen for the promotions, for the incentives, for the review for termination. It can be based on this one, right? Some companies do something what they call as your the bell curve, right? The bell curve wherein they see, okay, fine, based on my total employees who are in this particular skill set, what is their total scoring? Yeah, from there they create the bell curve. Okay, people who are on this score and above, okay, they are my top performers. Who are in this particular range, they are my mid performers. And who are in this area, these are my low performers. Right? So we can also, if you don't want to look at this, based on the end scoring, you will also have grading. Who scored the highest is by rank number 1. Second highest is by rank number 2. Third highest is by rank number 3. So on and so forth. Yeah. So different methodologies, outcome being the same. You want to still evaluate which employee is meeting the organizational performance parameters and which employee is not. For the ones who are not, you're devising action plans. For the ones that you're meeting, you want to further appreciate them so that they continue to be consistent in what they are doing. Yeah. So, all of you with me? Yes. Somebody else?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, Anna. I missed.
Doctor, yes, doctor. Doctor, the sentence that before rating, what the spelling of it, please? Because it's not clear in the board.
Which one?
Can you go back to the slide, doctor? Before the rating, before multiply, what the rating? Multiply what rating? Wages?
Weightage. Weight.
Okay, doctor, yes.
Sorry.
Thank you, doctor.
No. Yeah. So when we look at this entire thing, like I'm saying, to sum up this entire thing, first is we look at the job description. From here, we create the parameters. Right? From these parameters, based upon, let's say, what is the department focus or the goals, there will be the breakup, which is how much of it is going to be KPI based, how much of it is going to be behavioral based, that will be defined. Also, then comes your individual targets, which is again based on figures, which is based on realistic figures. So once you define the parameters, the KPIs, the weightage or the score, the kind of equal or varied scoring, you will do that. You will set the targets. Once you have set the targets, then goes your, until here, it's ready. The employees can now start working on it. Then comes the next phase. The next phase, which is going to be wherein you are going to evaluate the employee. So evaluation can be based on either the grid scoring, or when it is not in a grid scoring, it basically brings opportunity for a lot of variances. Okay, like for example, an employee may score, let's say, whatever be their end performance, but when the manager may bring about biasness away. Suppose I've got Ayman and I've got Marianne, so I may say, okay, fine, Marianne, I may give her a 3, and I may give Ayman a 4, right? It's based on what? It's based on judgment, right? But when there is a grid, it becomes very, very clear what the person has achieved. And there is no biasness, there is no unfair practice in it. And these grids anyways are based from what has been defined in the target. Yeah. And based on that, the end target, then of course, like I said, the calculation is automated, but to understand how the calculation is, it's purely based on what is the rating that the employee has achieved for each of the parameters. So the rating of the parameters Okay, if it is weightage, you multiply it with the weightage. If it is all equal, you don't need to. You can just go with the total of it. Yeah, and then last is your end review. The review as the review of the end performance, which we see the final scoring. So who goes for promotion, who goes for termination, who goes for development plan, so on and so on. Yeah, so I will represent this into 3 simple steps. So your entire performance management can be in 3 simple steps. First step is when you plan. You plan the parameters, you plan the weightage, you're planning the targets, all of that is the planning process. Now, once you have planned this entire parameters, weightage, all of it, the next phase is your monitoring phase. Now, in this monitor phase, there is mainly support that is required to the team members in meeting those goals that has been set. So the goals that were set in the planning phase, you're trying to drive it and achieve it in the monitoring phase. And once you have done so when the monitoring phase is over, the review phase is basically nothing. Because in the review phase, you're evaluating based on what the employee has achieved, and wherever required, you're giving feedback, you're motivating them, you're sharing action planning, all of that. Main step is these 2. So your planning plus your monitoring phase will define how good is your review phase. Because in the review phase, there's nothing much involved. The whole influence, so the input to get the review is basically the output, or is the outcome, right? But everything, whatever is required, is in these phases itself. How well are you able to build it? How well are you able to drive it? Will help the employee in the end, which is the evaluation phase. So the role that we play is in all the phases, because we are involved in the setting of the goals and the objectives. We are involved in the monitoring phase to check whether the employee is getting the right kind of support. We are also involved in the review phase to evaluate if everything is done fairly, or is there any kind of loopholes, biasness, variances. And then the cycle continues. Once the review is over, one cycle is over, the next cycle starts for the forthcoming period. And it's continuous. If we have any questions there, like I'm saying, if you understand this system, you understand this concept, if you understood everything that we did from day 1 and day 2, you will be able to create any evaluation for any position across the organization. Because everything is tailor-made, everything can be personalized, everything is based on organizational figures. Any questions, any doubts from any one of you?
Thank you, Doctor. It's all clear.
All clear? Fabulous.
Yeah, it's okay. Yes. But if you never mind, you can support for this, because yesterday we asked the models at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, for the last 2 days, I don't have. I think she's not here because she's unwell. I'm hoping that she will be here tomorrow and she will be able to send you guys the modules, basically, the materials. Yeah.
Yeah, because the clarification will be easy.
But trust me, Mr. Khan, if you read through the content, you will not relate to it. But that's why what you see in the modules is all theoretical. What we're doing here is more practical based.
Yeah. Inshallah, we'll go deep. We'll go deep also.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Yeah. No worries.
Oh.
Again, it may seem to be a little overwhelming when you're looking at, mainly probably I would have scared you guys with the figures and the numbers, but my objective is to tell you how it is derived. Because if you understand this, like I'm saying, everybody is a part. Like we have been working professionals, we've been a part of the performance management system for years or decades altogether. But we don't really understand how does the system generate the score? How does the system generate the end grade? Now, by looking at these figures, we can now relate to it. Like I'm saying that with this, we can build anything around the evaluation phase. So take some time out, probably anyways, I will see you guys next on Monday. So take some time out. If you think that you still have any questions, if you come up with some alternative, doubts, I am open to share that with you, to discuss that with you guys when we meet again on Monday.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Have a lovely evening.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Just before this, the KPI parametrics, or exact what the name of this, if I can go deep.
We are what we just did right now. It's the balance scorecard. We're doing the balance scorecard. We've done it, in the most raw form of it. Companies may name it, however many, good words or flowery words. But what we've done is we've broken down the entire balance scorecard to understand KPIs, competencies, and from there we build it.
Okay.
Sir. Hello?
Yes.
Sir, this recordable video will be provided or not? Because I think most of the people came after 10 minutes, after 20 minutes.
Say that one more time. I didn't understand that. Sorry. Say that one more time, please.
The recordable video, class video.
No, we don't have any video recording because it's a live session. So the session is not recorded. So whatever we discuss is discussed live, and there is no recording to preserve everyone's privacy of the discussion, because we will be discussing a lot of parameters about organizational practices, so on and so forth. So we don't record it. We have it completely as a live discussion.
Thank you.
Right. I can understand your thought from where you're coming from. Okay, recordings can be helpful, but recordings limit participation and interest in the topics, which is one of the key reasons of online learning, and mainly it is one of our key parameters of our awarding body as well, that to have the entire sessions live and not through any form of recording. So that's one of the reasons why we don't allow recordings, and mainly to preserve the information and the discussions that we have, because it's purely discussion based and it's not theoretically based. So it can be possibilities that we may discuss some things about organizations, about different behaviors, which may be considered to be a little bit sensitive. So we don't want to hold any kind of sensitive information recorded in the sessions. Yeah. But like I said, I can understand where you guys are coming from.
Doctor.
Yes.
When the next lecture it will be?
Monday.
Monday?
Yeah. Monday. Okay. Right. All right then. See you guys. Yes. Yes, we can do that, but There are sometimes we don't put the messages before because there can be some sessions which can go beyond one particular class. So the topic again will change. Hence, we keep it based on the discussions. But anyways, we will try to see the earlier that we can put the meeting invites in the group so that you all can join in at the earliest. Yeah, but I really don't see a major difference if I have to send you 10 links on one day when the sessions are in the forthcoming days, because we've done this based on previous groups to limit the confusion. So hence daily when the class is there, that's when we will assign the link and not one day before, because again it can add confusion because we have 3 day sessions back to back. So just to make it more simpler, we are operating in this format. Right? But I really welcome your feedback, guys. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.